reminisce about some things. I pray peace upon y'all families this morning. I pray peace upon those who are incarcerated, men, women, and juveniles. Uh, uh, Today is a blessed day, people. And the reason why I say today is a blessed day is because if you had a life sentence, if you had a life sentence and you're free, you know it's a blessed day. And having a life behind bars is something that you don't see freedom. You don't see freedom with life. You hear about it. You see people uh, gaining their freedom, and if you have life, then you wonder if one day your time will come when they might free you. Uh, I had what you call a baby life, and I had 45 aggravated years. And to people outside of this country, and maybe even inside this country, felt as 45 years was unheard of a person receiving in state in any kind of state, right? I used to correspond with these people in Holland, and when they heard about the sentence that I had, they couldn't believe it. They just totally couldn't believe uh, me having such a sentence. Uh, I knew a lot of guys inside of prison who used to be on death row. There was a time when a lot of guys with lives now uh, had had death sentences, but I think through the course of time they came to the death row offenders and had overturned their death row sentences and had given them life. And I believe it was life without parole. I I knew a lot of guys, like I say, that had these life sentences that was on death row, and you can imagine how these individuals felt with these life sentences, and they were so engraved of being satisfied with the sentence that they had received outside of the death sentence. Because when you sitting on death row and you know they're about to kill you, right? They're about to execute you. People, I don't know how that felt. I don't know how that person uh, took it or was feeling at that time when they felt they was finna be executed. And but to have the people to come and tell them that this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you life. These individuals that had these death sentences, and I knew quite a lot of them, and I was on Ellis 1, which was a death row unit, and a lot of the offenders that had been on death row is on that unit, and these guys had been locked up 30 and 40 years and had some served uh, cases. Now you can imagine what it was like to be able to just be running up and down the highway, going to chow, uh, being able to go to school or whatever they had they desire to do outside of being on death row. Because when you was on death row, you wasn't able to move around. Life behind bars is something that a lot of us may not ever experience. And I pray that a lot of people don't, because you don't see the end. You don't see the end. You see the beginning. You see the beginning because you have to start it. You have to start on it. And to serve such a sinner's life, letters, these not numbers, these letters that they give you. People, loved ones, can you imagine how they felt at the time when their loved ones was given such a sentence? But you look at the crimes in which these individuals uh, receive or get is caused upon themselves. But we have a nation that people still feel that death row shouldn't be in such of a time. So they came and they gave these guys life sentences behind bars. I uh I know what it's like because I did over 20 years. And over 20 years is like doing a life sentence. You don't know if they are going to free you. You don't know if time will change in your favor as you're doing time, because we have people inside the prison that files writs, right? And these writ writers inside the walls, they try to come up with cases that will remove the execution of sentences that has been given upon people here in the state of Texas. Now I know throughout the states here in America we have places where they don't give those kind of sentences, and it's hard to get that kind of sentence. But here in the state of Texas, they uh, they seem to thrive on giving offenders such sentences. Such a sentence can truly do something to a person's character. And what I mean is, let's say I was given life and they were sending me to ESAM. And knowing how ESAM uh, was at the time when I went, and with the mentality of a person who has life, what kind of mentality you think that this person took inside of those walls with a life sentence? Now, I don't think when that person got off that bus and went through the chain situation that he had anything positive on his mind, because he had life. And with that life sentence, you have uh, a personality that you're not taking nothing from nobody. You're not trying to hide from nobody because you got life. You have life, a life sentence. So you're not trying to hear about these laws. You're not trying to hear with these inmates. I remember a time I was going, when I was going to court, they had a Cuban. They had a Cuban guy, and he was given life. He was given life, and we both went to East Ham. Well, Cuba ended up on close custody. I ended up on medium custody. And so I never forget, Cuba was over on H Pod. This is on East Ham. And he was in the day room and he got into it with a Puerto Rican. So Puerto Rican felt like that he can whoop Cuba. But he told Cuba in the day room, he said, when they roll these doors, he said, I'm going to kill you. He said, I'm going to kill you. Now, we're talking about a time in prison when those words was highly taken and not easily spoken. So when they ran in and out, both inmates went to their cells. Now, I don't know what Puerto Rican had on his mind going into his cells and coming out, but Cuba had death on his mind. He was not to be killed by anyone, and he had a life sentence. And with that life, he had the the no nonsense attitude. He didn't play. He did not play. He didn't hardly mess with nobody, and he was already on close custody. So when they came back and ran in and out back into the day room, the officer closed the day room door, locked the door, and walked outside into the hallway. When this took place, Cuba stabbed up the Puerto Rican to death. He stabbed him to death. He killed him right there on H Block on East Town. And this was like 92 or somewhere up in that area. And he killed him. He killed him because Puerto Rican threatened his life. Now we're talking about a man who has been given life in prison. We're talking about a man that's not even from this country. And we're talking about a man who truly couldn't accept death upon his part. And by him having life, his concept was unspoken to the fact where he refused to take any tolerance from anybody. And so many men has been in the same predicament with life sentences behind the bars. And I say behind the bars is because when they used to have Scare Straight, where they used to take the teenagers, the youngsters, inside of East Town, and they would take these inmates among these men who had life sentences, who had been incarcerated for many, many years. They used to be ex-bill attenders. They had a mindset of wanting to scare the kids. And I remember they had a guy named Thunder. Thunder was a part of the Scare Straight program. Thunder had been locked up quite a while. And so Thunder had grabbed one of the kids. He had grabbed one of the kids. He had he did some things in which wasn't a part of the program towards the juvenile. But at this time, they had a captain whose name was Rollo. He was over the program at the time, so he had stepped out. Now these inmates with these live sentences, these inmates with these ex-bill attender mentalities, has been supervised by no one. So one of the inmates who was Thunder got out of line with the child, and really got out of line with it. I'm talking about to the point where he had the boy crying. But the boy had told his mom, his people, and his people had filed suit against the Scare Straight program, and now today they don't have it on Eastham because of that. But we put our children right around these men who has been given life behind bars, and we think these men would bring on a more positive aspect on these children when they go inside these walls. But we have a lot of men that has life that still is thinking of the way of the past and not trying to change. But we have a lot of life centers in individuals that you could read about, could see videos upon. These men has changed their lives. These men has started uh, teaching in certain programs and has gotten their life together. These men has started programs like Life Behind Bars. They have programs like that that uh, people could probably watch if they went on TDC network or something and looked at these programs. These programs and that these men has are beneficial for people who has children that's incarcerated with life behind bars. And you know, I try to enlighten the people on some things that they can do in order to help their loved ones while being incarcerated, because I know a lot of you people that watches my channel have a lot of loved ones that's incarcerated, and I know a lot of you might speak up on this when you have the opportunity to speak to your loved ones, and because a lot of people inside the institution doesn't know about just release. And Just Release is not just so much of a channel that I'm speaking of such events, but also my channel is to enlighten people that when their children released from prison, when their husbands and brothers are released from prison, that they can get with Just Release. They can get with Just Release because uh, there are some things I can do in helping those who has been released from prison, and that's just something. Thank you, thank you. I thank you for that this morning. I'm always thankful. I always say that because I'm free. I'm free. I know what it's like I say, to do 20 something years in prison, and that 20 something years behind the bars, it wasn't as if I I did it with peace. I prayed, right? I prayed to God. I prayed for freedom. I prayed that my life wouldn't be taken. I prayed so much for strength every day, every day. I did this, and I know there's so many people that's behind bars right now that does the same thing, does the same thing. And we have to let our people know that that's all they have to do is pray. We have to let them know all they have to do is pray, give it to God, and just do what's right behind the bars. Because even though you might have life, you don't have the death penalty. You don't have the death penalty. See, if you got the death penalty, you ain't getting out. You ain't getting out. If you have life, if you have life with parole, you getting out. You getting out. There's so many people that's done so many years, 40 something, 42. Can you imagine that has gotten out of prison and doing good, living life after doing such a sentence? 40 years? That's a long time, people. That's a long time. And a lot of you all have loved ones that's done those type of sentences. But we we think about life when we are giving it in the courts, when we're giving life. when we give him 50 years, when we give him 75 years, all these years, can you imagine what's going through the mind of a person that's been given such a sentence? I think about the women. I think about the women that receive such sentences. And there's not a lot I really know about women prisons, but I know that in that same mindset, that female is feeling just like that male. I ain't gonna never get out. I ain't gonna never get out. But that's not true. See, if you go down there behind these bars and you participate in things that don't make sense, you might not make it out. But if you indulge in those things in which can better you as a person, you're gonna make it out. You're gonna make it out because you're gonna start seeing some things. You're gonna start feeling different. You're just gonna start uh, meeting people outside of the bars that can help you in your situation. So, and so much comes with bettering yourself, even if you have life behind bars. Even if you have life behind bars. My, I have cousins. I've had cousins. I had friends that I knew that was given death sentences, that was given life sentences, and are serving these times right now today as I speak. Serving these times as I speak. I don't know the drive they have behind those bars with life. I don't know the concept that they have in dealing with everyday life behind the bars. But I know if I had an opportunity to speak to these people, then I would tell them what it's like to do 20-something years and be free, and be freed from behind the bars, to be freed from life behind the bars. And if you have the opportunity to speak to those you know that has such sentences, tell them it's freedom comes with life behind bars. This is Andre Wade, and I just pray peace upon y'all families, as I say, and that when you tell somebody about just release, tell me hit that like button. Tell me hit that like button, cause ain't no telling what I might come back with next. Cause you know I'm coming. You know I'm coming. This is Andre Wade with Just Release, and I'll be back.